Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm going to talk today about correcting something that I really feel needs to be corrected. The reason it needs to be corrected is because we need to keep the memory of the Ethiopian soldiers in the Korean War alive, as well as their U.S. counterparts. They fought alongside the U.S. 7th Infantry Division and particularly the 32nd Infantry Regiment of the U.S. 7th Infantry Division. Okay? All right. Right now in South Korea, the hip-hop culture is very popular. I like hip-hop culture. I like hip-hop music. And when I was over there, I answered some questions about it, and it was all fine. But sometimes people would ask Westerners there, why before until recently did we not know a lot about black people? That's what they would say. Why do we not know a lot about black people? And it really caught my attention because somebody had said, and other also university professors had said, you've been influenced by America too long, you've too American influenced. Okay, I know America doesn't have the best race relations, particularly in history. Nowadays, it's a lot better. And, you know, America came to Korea first, 1945, Korean War, and the Korean War happened between 1950 and 1953. So, but I had to do investigations on this and research because, and this is where it came across. And the reason I wanted to do investigations and research is I wanted to make sure it was right, because I don't want to disrespect any of the soldiers that came to Korea and fought in the Korean War. I don't want to disrespect them, period, but if there's ever a situation where somebody needs to be disrespected for bad behavior or something, I can understand that, but this was not the case here, okay? And it's very disrespectful to demean, and this is very demeaning to the soldiers from Ethiopia that fought in the Korean War, as also their U.S. counterparts. Let me explain. And the reason that a lot of South Koreans don't know a lot about black people is because, not because of America. Like, it's honestly because of North Korea, because of communism, and because of Red Terror. Red Terror is when you kill somebody that's not communist. And let me explain. That's going to be in further explanations, and I'm going to explain it all. No worries. And it's very easy to follow. Okay, my mind can operate like a pinball machine. Okay, but I promise you this is going to be in good chronological order. No worries. All right. The African nation of Ethiopia sent a total of 3,158 soldiers to the Korean War. Over 120 of the brave Ethiopian soldiers sacrificed their lives in the Korean War. And there's conflicting reports as to where if it was 121 brave soldiers that sacrificed their lives or 122. But we know over 120 of them died. And they were very brave. Also, 536 Ethiopian soldiers were wounded. Okay? Okay. They fought alongside the U.S. 7th Infantry Division, particularly the 32nd Infantry Regiment. And Company K of the 32nd Infantry Regiment was actually an artillery company, and they provided the Ethiopians a lot of artillery support. And this was particularly crucial when Ethiopian soldiers wanted to recover their fallen comrades, the people that they fought alongside, the other Ethiopian soldiers. And all Ethiopian soldiers' fallen bodies, they were recovered and sent back to Ethiopia to be buried. And they were buried in a heroic fashion, okay? And the Ethiopian soldiers returned to Ethiopia as heroes at first. They were heroes, rightfully so. Okay, the Ethiopia's emperor at the time during the Korean War was Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie wanted to send soldiers to the Korean War. Haile Selassie was very anti-communist, and he gave the Ethiopian soldiers 7 battalion combat flags. And it was very disgraceful and disrespectful if the enemy captured a battalion combat flag. Well, the enemy did not. The Ethiopian soldiers kept all 7 battalion combat flags, and they gave them back to Emperor Haile Selassie. They returned it to him. And before the Korean War started, these Ethiopian soldiers were Haile Selassie's personal bodyguards. So they were already very elite soldiers before the Korean War started. Okay. Ethiopia is the only country to have never lost against the enemy. They won all 253 times. They also did not have anybody become prisoner of war. Not one Ethiopian soldier was ever taken prisoner of war. And they were the only country to always win against the enemy and to never have a soldier be taken as prisoner of war. Okay, and this really impressed the U.S. Army. The U.S. Army was really impressed by it. There was this young Ethiopian captain who was served in the Korean War, and he said, we admired the American Army. When they fought well. When they rested well. And the U.S. Army soldiers that fought alongside the Ethiopian soldiers were Caucasian. And and the Ethiopian soldiers fought very well. The U.S. Army decorated them with a lot of medals. One is a man by the name of Mamo Hoptewald. He was a young lieutenant in the Korean War. And Mamo Hoptewald said that the Ethiopian soldiers did not face discrimination in the Korean War. And the U.S. government awarded him the Silver Star. Okay? He was interviewed by the BBC. There's internet articles as well as interviews on that. Mamo Hoptewald saying that. Okay, now, before I get any further, I know this probably would not be the case if the Ethiopians only won 250 times, even 251 times. They did something extremely heroic and extremely super, where even in 1950s America, people would accept them regardless of skin color, okay? I can understand had 10 Ethiopian soldiers been taken prisoner of war, or even 5, that probably would not be the case, okay? So I'm not blind or naive to a lot of things, okay? I know there has been racism in the United States. I know there still is racism in the United States, okay? A lot better than before, but there's still racism, okay? What I'm getting to, okay, and what I'm going to get to is why don't a lot of people know about this? Why do a lot of South Koreans not know about this now? Why do a lot of Americans not know about it? Has nothing to do with America. It's not America's fault. Okay, let me explain. Also, before I get to explanation, okay, the head of the Ethiopian Korean War Veterans Association believes the American Army to be like his own family, and he's happy that there's U.S. soldiers in Ethiopia now training the Ethiopian military. And also, Ethiopia was very happy to keep South Korea free. They were very happy to see South Korea free of communism. Okay, in 1974, Mengistu Haile Mariam, he was a Marxist, very pro-North Korean, very pro-Soviet Union. He overthrew Ethiopia's Emperor Haile Selassie. Okay, he put Haile Selassie in prison, and Haile Selassie died in prison. Very evil act. And Mengistu Haile Mariam, he also arrested a lot of the Korean War veterans. A lot of the Korean War veterans were personal bodyguards, as I said before, to Ethiopia's Emperor Haile Selassie. Okay, and a lot of the Korean War veterans had to go into hiding. They had to tear up a lot of their medals or the citations that the U.S. government gave them, because Ethiopia shunned ties with the U.S. and they shunned ties with South Korea, and they did not. And Mengistu Haile Mariam denied that Ethiopia ever helped South Korea in the Korean War. It was just a steadfast denial, and Ethiopia had North Korea right there to spill that propaganda too. They were spilling lies. And Mengistu Haile Mariam, as I said, ruled Ethiopia from 1974 to 1991, and he implemented a policy called Red Terror. He killed anyone who wasn't communist, or he killed people who were suspected of being communist. Okay, Mengistu Haile Mariam, what he would do was he would kill a lot of people and put their bodies near the bus terminal to scare people that he didn't kill, to intimidate them. That's how ruthless of a man and evil of a man he is. He's still alive today. Unfortunately, he's in exile in Zimbabwe, and Robert Mugabe's government refuses to hand him over to the Ethiopians, even though the current Ethiopian government is very pro-democracy and very pro-American. They want Mengistu Haile Mariam, they want to bring him back to Ethiopia to try him and convict him and probably execute him. But Zimbabwe and the Mugabe government says no. Okay? And because of the Red Terror policies between 1974 and 1991, a lot of the Korean War veterans have to depend on their children and grandchildren for a lot of financial aid. They do get some aid from the South Korean government as well. The South Korean government is very aware of this situation, but a lot of the citizens are not. And the reason is, I love my time in South Korea, but the Korean War sometimes can be the forgotten war over there too. There's a lot of younger generations in both countries, and I like younger generations in America and South Korea. Didn't have problems with them, but they're really forgetting about the Korean War, and I wish they would continue to remember it. Okay, so if people really the younger generation in South Korea really needs to look at the Korean War, and now they can see what a lot of the brave Ethiopian soldiers did. And it had nothing to do with America. America treated these soldiers very, very, very well. And they fought alongside each other. They took care of each other. A lot of American tanks would go with the Ethiopian soldiers, and they would provide cover fire for the Ethiopian soldiers, so the Ethiopian soldiers could bring back their dead comrades and give them a proper burial in Ethiopia. That's what happened. Mengistu Haile Mariam, for a long time, denied Ethiopia's involvement in the Korean War. So to say that the reason a lot of Koreans for a long time didn't know a lot about black people had nothing to do with U.S. racism. Very little, if any. For a lot of countries, that wasn't the case, but for Korea, it is. Okay, and I'm making this video for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons is it's so close to 4th of July. It's my shirt, and American flag, never forget. Never going to forget the soldiers' sacrifices. And it's very disrespectful to the soldiers of Ethiopia as well as the soldiers from the U.S. 7th Infantry Division to not correct this myth. Just be insulting to them. Mamo Hoptewald said himself, the Ethiopian soldiers did not receive racial discrimination. He said he never heard them being called racial slurs. I mean, they didn't face it. There's just no... They just didn't. I mean, they didn't face it. So, anyway, hope everybody's doing well. Take care. God bless, and bye-bye. Bye-bye.